Hello, my name is Bond, James Alexander Bond, and I teach and lecture on art, crime, and cultural heritage preservation. The following edited video is of a lecture I gave at the Telfair Academy in Savannah, Georgia. It's about forgers and forgeries, how forgers often get their start, how incredibly difficult it can be at times to detect a forgery. And it concludes with a brief sketch of three forgers who have together forged over $100 million worth of art and have never spent a day in jail. Thank you.
So what we're going to do is take a quick romp through art forgery tonight, and I hope that what I can do is instill in you something you can hang on to. The takeaway for this talk is how complicated art forgery can be. You would think it would be something that's just black and white, that a piece of work is either real or it's not real. And through good forensics, you can nowadays do an awful lot of good investigative work. But as Robert Whitman, the FBI agent, taught me, he said, you can't prove it's not real. Now, that's a kind of a confusing thought, but let's just go forward, and what I'm going to do is go through talk about the art market itself, talk about some specific forgers, talk about what motivates and the characteristics of forgers, how prevalent it is, and then we will look at how you authenticate art. Theodore Rousseau Jr. was the vice director of the Metropolitan Museum under Thomas Hovey, and he said this, that we've got to realize we can only talk about the bad art, the bad forgeries, the forgeries that have been discovered, because the rest of them are hanging on the wall. Now, hold that thought in your mind, and let's just drop back several centuries and talk about a young man that had originality to the nth degree. But he was not accepted, and it was a hard time trying to get accepted in Italy, where he lived, into the art community. So what he did was create a piece of statuary that he buried, distressed, broke off an arm, then dug it up and sold it to a cardinal in Rome. And he also provided a very good provenance with it. But he was found out, but because he was so good, they never did anything, and his career was jump-started by this one act, and that was Michelangelo. This is a Corot. He was the second most forged artist, according to Art World magazine, in the world. There's one collection of 2,414. Now this is just in one collection, forgeries of his work. He became a running joke in the last half of the last century. In 1940, Newsweek magazine reported that he had produced 2,500 original pieces of work, and 7,800 of them were in the U.S. Let's take a look at how prevalent are art forgers. Thomas Hovey, that I mentioned before, the former director of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, said that during his tenure, fully 40% of everything they considered for acquisition were either outright fakes or way over restored. Another fun internet project is just go in and type in, go to eBay and Giacometti statues. I found one for $1,000 with everything, even provenance, everything was perfect, according to them. After Russia fell, it was estimated 40% of the avant-garde art that came out of Russia were forged. And now Chinese art is hot, so, buyer beware. Giorgio de Chiro, who was the first most forged artist, had a different career than Corot did. His career started off real strong and then tailored off. And he was caught backdating some of his paintings, in effect forging himself. The best story about Pablo Picasso is that he was in Madrid visiting his dealer, and he was walking through a room with his paintings, and he looked up and said, "I didn't paint that." And his dealer said, "Oh, Senor Picasso, please don't tell me that's already been sold." And he said, "Well, is he a good customer?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Give me that painting." And he went in the studio and signed his name. But one thing you need to keep in mind is you collect for yourself, help a museum, or getting a piece to gift, is the 1% rule. The 1% rule is you should be willing to spend 1% of the value of a piece of art you're thinking about buying to have it authenticated. And there's lots of people out there that do this, that can help you with forensics, connoisseurship, provenance, etc. Okay, forgers are always for revenge. They have been denied their originality by the art world or their creativity, and they want to get even. It's almost always for money. One of the 3 forgers I'm going to present to you didn't do it for money, and it was his saving grace. It's the reason he's not behind bars right now. It was almost always done with an accomplice, sometimes more than one. And I've yet to find one that's not nailed. So, there's no glass ceiling. And I've got a little chart that I'll show you called the risk versus reward calculation. Not that I think that the forgers actually do something like this, but you'll see it's very much in their favor. And again, like I said about Han van Meegeren, they have every virtue except originality. So let's talk a little bit about Mark Augustus Landis, a true Southern Gothic tale. There's just been a movie made of him, and you will really enjoy seeing it. I saw it in Nashville, and it's called Art and Craft. It's a documentary. Mr. Landis stars himself. This is a portrait of his father, who went to the Naval Academy and got passed over for admiral, and kind of died an unhappy death. And Mr. Landis is a diagnosed schizophrenic. He spent a year in a miniature clinic, and when he got out, his mother, she knew he had this ability to copy. He said he knew from 6 years old he could copy anything. And so she shipped him off to the Art Institute of Chicago, and then when he got through there, he hightailed it to the West Coast of San Francisco to make his mark as an artist. And that didn't work out very well, and so he decided to be a dealer, and that didn't work very well. And so he came home at 30 years old, just an abject failure. And it hit him that he knew what he was going to do. He was going to be a philanthropist. And so that's what he did for the next 30 years to over 40 institutions. He would make pieces of artwork. He would sometimes dress up as Father Arthur Scott, write a letter to the museum. There's 3,500 museums in the U.S. I mean, he covered the East Coast and an institution of higher learning here in Savannah. And he would go in and say either one of the parishioners had this piece of art that they wanted to donate to the museum, or he would say that their mother had died and his sister was in Paris liquidating the estate, and they just wanted to do this in their father's honor or the grandmother's honor. And he would never take a penny for it. Robert Whitman, the FBI's art crime team leader, investigated him. He was called in, and he said he hadn't violated any laws. And so for over 30 years, he and Ken Farini have fostered fake art on the American public.